Hey y'all, what's going on? My name is Gavin. I'll be walking through a couple topics today for the Lava Learn session, but first I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was the Director of Operations for Lava Lab in spring 2019 and fall 2019. Before that, I was an engineer as a part of the Lava Lab cohort. I studied CECS and film at USC, and I graduated in May 2020. I founded a couple companies in the past, and I'm always trying to build impactful products, so I'm really excited to share my journey with you guys today. I'm currently a Kleiner Perkins Fellow and a software engineer at Honey. For fun, I like to play music, go surfing, and take long walks to the fridge. So first and foremost, we'll talk about hackathons and their value to you as entrepreneurs. Then we'll shift over into pitching and pitch competitions. And finally, we'll talk about how to grow your team. I think you'll see how all three of these are related as we go through the video. And I'll definitely be sure to share my anecdotes on taking these paths to launching my companies in the past. So first thing we want to talk about is that there are a million ways to found a company, and this is just one of them that I think is often overlooked. A lot of folks associate hackathons strictly with engineering, but there's also a lot of value in these competitions for designers and product managers as well. Aside from the material prizes that you can win, there are two main gains to be had when attending a hackathon as an entrepreneur. First off, a hackathon forces you to deploy quickly. It's in your best interest to create a proof of concept as quickly as possible. And this is a really good exercise in choosing the most valuable features of your company and creating a refined and focused product. It also ensures that by the end of 48 hours, you will have a proof of concept ready to share and iterate over. And in order to be successful in this, it's important that you tackle hackathons with a prepared team. So you always want a diverse team, 100% of the time. And your team at minimum should consist of at least one designer and one product expert alongside your engineers. And this is absolutely crucial because a homogeneous team will not think of as many perspectives on a product as a diverse team will. Put your skill sets to use and collaborate to build an amazing MVP that you can show off. Anyone on your team with an eye for product or user experience can gather meaningful input from sponsors of the hackathon. Optimize for gaining as much insight as possible into both the problems you're solving and the market that you're dealing with. A large part of forming relationships with investors comes down to how much they trust you and your team, and how capable your team is of delivering. The team builds the company, so the team is what the VCs are really investing in. On the screen, I have an example team slide that we put together for one of my recent hackathons. You might recognize some of these faces from other Lava Learn videos, and you'll notice my team has a lot of different areas of expertise, and this was crucial for us to create an MVP that investors would be interested in. Be honest with yourself about your strengths and weaknesses, and build a team that has complementary skill sets. For this hackathon, because of our different backgrounds, we were able to refine an idea to monitor the health of medical staff through the COVID pandemic. We were able to parallelize our work to rapidly develop our proof of concept. Our product folks put together designs and drew up business models, while our engineers alongside our medical experts were able to create a mobile, web, and back-end service quickly with time left over to iterate on it and get feedback from sponsors at the hackathon. The second takeaway is the network that you can build by attending these hackathons. Talk to everyone. Especially the sponsors. A lot of the best hackathons will have some great startups and VCs present as a resource for you as you build. Talk to all of them and understand what they're looking for and run your ideas by them. This is your opportunity to learn more about the problems they're trying to find solutions for, and your chance to really form a meaningful connection. The team slide that you just saw was taken from a COVID-related hackathon hosted by USC for the purpose of building solutions to the pandemic. So throughout this hackathon, we were able to connect with a sensor manufacturer that connected us to ORMs that we could distribute our product through and gave us valuable insight on the industry that we were launching ourselves into. We then took the project to other hackathons and set up meetings with VCs and experienced founders through connections we made at those hackathons to get feedback on your product. Really be serious and determined about your company and use the connections you make to find paths to market. And let's dive a little deeper on how you can make this happen. First off, everyone is a potential investor. You need to look at everyone as if they could invest in your company, be it connections, employment, or actual funding. And your investors don't always have to be Mark Andreessen. You'll always leave every conversation with more knowledge on your product than you came into it with. So how can you really explain your ideas concisely and get feedback? And this is where we employ what's called an elevator pitch. You need to be armed with this constantly. This is basically your magical, weapon that when you talk about your company, whether you're talking to people who want to give you money or don't want to give you money, this is your go-to, and this is what will get people interested in your company, and it needs to be perfect. But it's actually really simple and takes at minimum 2 sentences. Starting off with the first sentence, this is where you talk about what you do. So we can look at a real-world example in Airbnb. Hey, we're Airbnb and we're a marketplace for space. So this is really catchy, and it's literally a quick one-liner to describe what your company does. And this is really good. We can look at another example. We're Airbnb and we help you rent out the extra room in your house. This is a much more practical approach and less slogany, and really take your pick. So let's apply this to what we used when we built Harbor Health for that hackathon. We're Harbor Health and we help you manage your medical staff's health as they fight this pandemic. So really nail this, and then we can move on to the second part of your elevator pitch. And this is one sentence that talks about how fast you're already gaining traction, and how many people out there could use your product. And this sentence is really powerful. It shows that you understand your product market fit and that you are capable of solving your problem. So let's go back to Airbnb and look at an example of that. There are 1.9 billion trips booked worldwide. 10.6 million of those use Airbnb. So this is really amazing, because in this one sentence, you have shown that there is a massive market for your product, Airbnb. There are 1.9 billion trips booked worldwide, and guess what? You've already gained 10.6 million of those to be using your product. So this really shows the potential of your company and how quickly you are achieving that potential. So we can look at Harbor Health. 20% of healthcare workers in New York are predicted to contract the virus, and by the end of this year, we help keep them safe. So in this case, we haven't deployed our product at this point. So we really emphasized the need that our market would have. So 20% of healthcare workers in New York is a pretty big number. And it shows that there's actually a market out there that we are trying to solve this problem for. And that's it. That's all you need for your elevator pitch. After this, a conversation will flow naturally. And both your pitch and elevator pitch should be simple and easy to digest. And if possible, use graphics to help your audience visualize how lucrative your company is. After you've built your MVP and have found great resources from the hackathons you attended, the next step is to attend as many pitch competitions as possible. These competitions have a ton of investors looking to help entrepreneurs like you build impactful products. Pitch competitions consist of 2 parts. There's the pitch itself, which we'll talk about in a second, and then there's the investors that attend. This is your chance to meet with and speak to tons of investors that could have really good insight into your product. Even if you're not pitching on stage and you're just attending, speak to the investors around you, and it can open a lot of doors. This is exactly how one of my previous companies was able to secure funding and grow to 30 plus people, because we were able to meet with investors that were attending the pitch competitions and really form meaningful connections. So again, meet people, use your elevator pitch, and form meaningful relationships that can help focus your ideas. So let's talk about the big stage pitch at these competitions. Every pitch can be creative and different, but I found that in my experience, at its core, every good pitch consists of a few main slides. So The first slide is the problem. Really tell the audience the problem and make them understand that it is important. This is what gives your product a purpose. You want to convey the significance of this problem and follow it up with your solution. And this leads up to our next slide. Tell us your solution early. Please don't keep us waiting on this. This should be like the second or third slide in your deck, and should come after you state your problem. And afterwards, it's really important to talk about the market. Remember that the second sentence of the elevator pitch that you created, and expand on that here. Use graphics to help convey the information. Next, describe how someone is going to use your product and when they're going to use your product. Give the audience a compelling story about your user. So in the case of Harbor Health, our user story described the protocols that hospital managers would engage should our product detect that a staff member was showing signs of COVID. And this is going to fit hand in hand with the next step, which is showing the demo. So if you've got a working MVP, which at this point you probably should, include a sample GIF or images of your UI and demonstrate how your app works. This really gives the audience something tangible to go along with your user story, and helps to contextualize the information that you're giving them. In my experience, if I didn't address this in the presentation, I would always be asked about it in the follow-up, and sometimes I was asked about it both times. So how are you getting your first 100 users? And then what's your roadmap to getting the next 1,000? How do you get your product out there so that it's being used? So really nail this, and talk about how your product's going to get in the hands of users. Next, definitely tell us about your competitors and why you make them irrelevant. And there's a couple different ways that you can convey this information. I'll show you some examples right now. So this is one of the most popular ways to show your competitive landscape. So this is taken from the Lava Lab product that I built when I was an engineer, called Sozu. And we created axes to describe apps on the marketplace and showed how we outperformed them. The product was a video journaling application that allowed users to quickly see their life as a time capsule of moods. So this is where our team's product manager, Gus Getzi, would say that there are a lot of apps out there that can quickly connect us to other people, but Sozu is the only app that can quickly connect us to ourselves. This is a more unorthodox approach. So for Harbor Health, we created a Venn diagram to highlight the needs that weren't being filled by existing solutions and how Harbor Health was able to satisfy all of the requirements. And next up, we have my personal favorite method, taking from a fashion product I worked on in early 2020. You can list features and needs that your users have that are not being fulfilled by existing products, and show how you address those needs directly. This is a fantastic method. It can quickly show what are the shortcomings of your competitors, and shows that you can fill all those needs quickly. So why now? So back to the pitch deck. There are over 7 billion people in the world, many of whom have probably had your idea. So why is it specifically you, and specifically now, this product is poised to succeed? So think about why you're creating this now, and today, and tell us about it. Finally, tell us how you're making money. Every company, no matter how altruistic, will ultimately fail if it's not sustainable. So I won't go in depth about different business models in this lecture, but definitely think about how you're going to be able to monetize your product so that you can continue to make a difference in your users' lives. Finally, the last slide, really finish strong with your team and showcase the beautiful faces behind your product. Briefly introduce them and tell the audience how they fit into your product and the merits that they have. This is a fantastic slide to close your presentation on. And then we'll talk about a couple tips to keep in mind when you're presenting. These are my top 2 tips. So stand still, use hand motions only as necessary. Don't be pacing around while you're on stage, because it gets really distracting. You want to make sure that the audience is focused on what you're saying and what's on the slide deck. And don't be afraid of pausing. Be calm, clear, and concise, and keep your language slow. Pausing allows the audience time to digest what you're saying. Okay, so you've taken your MVP through a couple pitch competitions, maybe even secured a little bit of funding along the way, and now you're looking to take on more people and grow your team. This is a really exciting phase of your company, and it's critical to your success. A company will not thrive unless the team behind it is strong. So let's talk a little bit about the landing page before we get into specifics. You probably built this during the hackathon phase and forgot about it after, but now is the time to pay attention to it. A landing page is basically a page for your company that showcases what you do. Setting up a landing page yields a couple points of information that can be useful. So one, it helps you gauge the traction. Throw up your landing page for your idea early and monitor how many hits it gets over time. This data is valuable to both you and to investors to help validate your idea. It shows that people are interested and actively looking for solves to their problems and are coming across you as a potential solution. The second takeaway is that entrepreneurs will be looking for exciting new startups to join all the time. Add a contact page or a careers page to your landing page that gives others an opportunity to reach out and join your team. But this isn't the only way to attract talent. So let's talk about career fairs. Career fairs are full of people looking for opportunities to contribute to exciting projects. You can find more online, but one of my favorite career fairs to attend as a founder is USC's own startup career fair hosted by Spark. I've received over 500 resumes in the span of a few hours from setting up shop at these career fairs and grown projects that way. If you're able to make the location, this is a surefire way to attract talent. After you apply, set up shop with banners and posters and table gear and use your preferred technology to gather resumes and contact information. So let's say you get 500 resumes, but how do you narrow that down to choosing who you want on your team? This is where it comes down to culture. What kind of team do you want? And what are the skill sets that you need? And what are the personalities that your current team has chemistries with? And this is critical. Great ideas have been turned upside down due to a lack of team chemistry, and that's something I've experienced firsthand. So consider the personalities and work ethic of those on your team currently, and the general persona that you want your company to have in the future. Set that goal and hire the people that fit that criteria. Ask your applicants, what they expect their ideal day-to-day work to look like. What are they looking to gain from working at your company? And think about your company's needs alongside the applicants and make your decision based on their drive and ambition. When it comes to engineers specifically, I've found technical assessments to be a waste of time. It's much more important to gauge that engineer's commitment to your product and their willingness to learn quickly. So that concludes this video. I really hope I was able to provide some value to you in your entrepreneurial endeavors. And I really can't wait to see all the amazing things that y'all get up to.